Maya Johnson, a 22-year-old Black American woman, hurried down the worn stone steps of Chicago's Lincoln University, her backpack slung over one shoulder, and her dark skin glistening faintly under the late September sun. Her tight curls bounced as she moved, her eyes heavy with the weight of a day that had begun at dawn. A senior majoring in journalism, Maya dreamed of exposing corporate corruption. Still, her reality was far less glamorous. Endless assignments, overdue tuition bills, and extended shifts waitressing at Bella Vita, a cozy Italian restaurant in the city's heart. Her mother, a nurse battling chronic illness, relied on Maya's income to cover mounting medical debts, and the pressure gnawed at her. At 5:30 p.m., with evening settling over the skyline, Maya pushed forward, her sneakers scuffing the pavement, as she raced to catch the crowded L train to her shift. She couldn't afford to be late, not when every dollar counted. Inside Bella Vita, the air was thick with the aroma of garlic and marinara. Maya slipped through the employee entrance, her uniform a modest black dress and white apron already wrinkled from being stuffed in her bag. She was exhausted, her feet aching from hours of standing, but determination kept her moving. In the cramped break room, its walls yellowed from years of kitchen fumes, her friend Lena Harris, a 25-year-old Black American single mother and fellow waitress, waved her over with a grin. "Girl, you look like you ran a marathon." Lena teased, her warm brown skin glowing under the flickering overhead light. "Guess who's back tonight?" Her eyes sparkled with mischief. Maya didn't need to guess. James Carter, a 28-year-old white American man and the heir of the Carter Hotel Group, had regularly been dining at Bella Vita for weeks. His pale skin and sharp blue eyes stood out in the dimly lit restaurant, but his quiet kindness caught Maya's attention. Unlike the usual wealthy patrons who barely acknowledged the staff, James tipped generously and spoke to her with genuine curiosity. She'd overheard whispers about him, the heir to a luxury hotel empire spanning cities like New York, London, and Dubai, worth billions. Yet he seemed out of place among the city's elite, his tailored suits at odds with his unassuming demeanor. Maya changed quickly, glancing at her reflection in a small mirror. Dark circles framed her eyes, a testament to sleepless nights studying and working. She smoothed her apron, wishing to erase the exhaustion in her face. Her mother's latest hospital bill, $2,000 for a specialist visit, loomed in her mind, and she needed this shift to go smoothly. Pushing through the swinging doors to the dining area, she felt the restaurant's lively hum envelop her clinking glasses, soft laughter, and the sizzle of pans from the kitchen. The maitre d', a stern older man named Mr. Russo, pointed her toward a corner table where James sat, his blonde hair neatly combed, reading a folded copy of the Chicago Tribune. James looked up as Maya approached, his blue eyes meeting her brown ones, with a warmth that made her heart skip. "Good evening, Maya," he said, his voice low and steady, folding the newspaper aside. At 28, he carried himself with a quiet confidence, but his smile hinted at a restlessness Maya couldn't quite place. "How's your day going?" She forced a smile, her nerves tingling. That he remembered her name from her last shift surprised her, though it shouldn't have. He'd done it before. "Busy," she replied, keeping her tone professional. "College in the morning, work at night. You know how it goes." She didn't expect him to understand. His world of penthouses and boardrooms was a universe away from hers. James nodded thoughtfully, his pale fingers tapping the table. "Are you juggling a lot and studying anything interesting?" His question was casual but sincere, and Maya felt a flicker of connection. Most customers didn't care about her life beyond their order. "Journalism," she said, relaxing slightly and working on a piece about corporate accountability. "Keeps me up late." She didn't mention the real reason for her sleepless nights, her mother's illness, or the tuition payment due next week. Impressive, James said, leaning forward. That takes guts. I bet you're good at it. His compliment caught her off guard, and she felt her cheeks warm. She took his order, a glass of sparkling water and a plate of fettuccine alfredo, trying not to notice the refined cut of his navy suit or the way his gaze lingered. As she turned to head to the kitchen, a loud voice from a nearby table stopped her cold. A middle-aged man, reeking of whiskey, leered at her. "Hey, sweetheart." He slurred his ruddy face, twisting into a smirk. "You don't look like you belong here. Why don't you fetch me another drink?" The racial undertone in his tone was unmistakable, and Maya's stomach tightened. Before she could respond, James stood, his 6-foot frame imposing but calm. "She's doing her job," he said evenly, his blue eyes locking onto the man's. "How about you show some respect?" His voice carried a quiet authority, and the drunk man muttered an apology, sinking back into his chair. Maya's heart raced, a mix of gratitude and embarrassment washing over her. "Thank you," she whispered to James as she passed his table again, delivering his water. "No one should talk to you like that," he replied, his expression softening. "You okay?" She nodded, though her hands trembled slightly as she set down the glass. "Just another night," she said, forcing a laugh. But his concern felt genuine, a stark contrast to the indifference she was used to. As she moved to other tables, she caught Lena's encouraging grin from across the room, a silent acknowledgement of the moment. The rest of the shift passed in a blur of orders and chatter, but Maya's thoughts drifted to James. He stayed until closing, leaving a $50 tip on a $20 bill, a gesture that could cover a week's groceries for her family. As she wiped down tables, Lena sidled up, nudging her. "He's into you, Maya, and he's not like the usual rich guys. Be careful, though, his kind comes with baggage." Maya tucked a curl behind her ear, her brown eyes flickering with curiosity and caution. She said, "I'm not looking for anything," but her voice lacked conviction. James's kindness sparked her exhausting world, and she couldn't deny the warmth it ignited. As she locked up the restaurant, stepping into the cool Chicago night, she glanced back at the empty corner table where James had sat. For the first time in months, she felt a glimmer of hope, fragile but real, that maybe her life could hold more than survival. Maya Johnson pushed through another grueling day, her sneakers pounding the pavement as she hurried from Lincoln University to Bella Vita. The Chicago skyline loomed gray under a late September drizzle, mirroring the weight in her chest. Her mother's latest voicemail, left during a lecture break, echoed in her mind. Another hospital bill, while $500 for medication adjustments, had arrived, pushing their fragile budget to the breaking point. Maya's journalism scholarship covered only half her tuition, leaving her scrambling to pay the rest. At Bella Vita, she slipped into the break room, the familiar scent of burnt coffee and garlic grounding her. Lena Harris, her friend and co-worker, was already there, tying her apron with practiced ease. "You okay, Maya?" Lena asked, her voice soft but probing. "You look like you're carrying the world. Bills piling up." Maya admitted, swapping her damp jacket for her uniform. "Mom's meds cost more than I make in a week." She didn't mention the late-night study sessions or the looming deadline for her investigative piece on local factory pollution. Lena nodded, her exhaustion evident. As a single mother, she juggled waitressing and night classes, and her toddler was cared for by her aging aunt. "I hear you," Lena said. "My kid's daycare bill just went up. We keep running, don't we?" Maya forced a smile, heading to the dining floor. The restaurant buzzed with Friday night energy, clinking wine glasses, laughter, and the hum of conversation. She scanned the tables, half expecting to see James Carter, the heir to the Carter Hotel Group, at his usual corner spot. He'd been coming in almost daily, his quiet presence a contrast to the chaos of her life. Tonight, his table was empty, and a pang of disappointment surprised her. Shaking it off, she took orders, her pen scribbling across her notepad as she navigated the crowded floor. Halfway through her shift, James arrived, his tailored gray suit catching the soft light. He settled at his corner table, a leather-bound notebook replacing his usual newspaper. Maya approached, her heart giving an involuntary flutter. "Evening," she said, keeping her tone professional. "Back for the fettuccine?" James smiled, his blue eyes warm. "Maybe. But I'm also curious about that article you mentioned. Corporate accountability, right?" His interest disarmed her, and she shared more than she intended. Her research into a factory, dumping chemicals into the Chicago River, her dream to expose such injustices. He listened intently, jotting a note in his book. "That's bold," he said. "My family's in hotels, but I've seen enough boardroom deals to know how corporations dodge responsibility. If you ever need a source, I might learn a few things." His candor surprised her. She'd assumed someone like him, born into wealth, groomed to lead a global empire, wouldn't care about her world. "I'll keep that in mind," she replied, a cautious spark of connection forming. A loud voice cut through the din as she turned to fetch his order. A patron, his face flushed with alcohol, waved her over. "Hey, you." He slurred, his tone sharp. "This pasta's cold. What's taking so long? You people are always this slow." The jab stung, laced with an edge she'd heard too often. Maya clenched her jaw, ready to respond, but James was already standing, his presence calm but firm. "Let's keep it civil." James said, his voice low, eyes locked on the man. "She's doing her job." The patron muttered something, but backed off, cowed by James's quiet authority. Maya's pulse raced, gratitude mixing with embarrassment. "Thanks," she murmured as she passed his table again, delivering his sparkling water. "James said that no one gets to talk to you like that," his expression softening. "You holding up okay?" "Barely," she admitted, her voice low. "It's just a lot." She didn't elaborate, but his nod suggested he understood more than she expected. The moment lingered, charged with unspoken empathy, until Mr. Russo, the maitre d', barked from across the room. "Maya, table 6, needs you." She hurried off, her thoughts swirling with James's kindness and the weight of her responsibilities. Maya's feet ached as the night wore on, and her phone buzzed in her apron. A text from her mother. A new bill came. "I'm so sorry, Maya. Don't know how we'll manage." Her stomach twisted. She slipped into the break room during a brief lull, sinking onto a rickety chair. Lena followed, concern etching her face. "What's wrong?" she asked. "Another bill?" Maya said, her voice cracking. "I can't keep up. Mom's meds, tuition, rent, it's drowning me." She didn't mention James, but Lena's sharp gaze caught the flicker in her eyes. "That rich guy's got you thinking." "Huh," Lena said, half teasing. "He's nice, Maya, but his world's different. Be careful." Lena's struggles balancing her son's needs with her nursing studies made her words heavy with experience. Maya nodded, but James's offer to share corporate insights lingered in her mind, a potential lifeline for her article, and maybe more. The shift ended with James leaving another generous tip, this time with a small note tucked under the bill. "Keep fighting for that story. You've got this. James." Maya slipped the note into her pocket, her fingers brushing against her phone. As she locked up with Lena, the city's neon lights flickered outside, casting long shadows. "He's not like the others," Maya said quietly, almost to herself. Lena raised an eyebrow. "Maybe. But men like him come with strings." "You're strong. Maya, don't let anyone pull you off your path." They parted ways. Maya boarding the L train, the note's weight in her pocket. A quiet promise against the storm of her struggles. As the train rattled through the night, she felt a spark of defiance. She'd keep fighting for her mother, her dreams, and maybe, just maybe, for the connection she hadn't dared to hope for. The Chicago wind bit at Maya Johnson's fingertips as she stepped off the L train, her scarf fluttering against the October chill. Bella Vita's neon sign glowed in the distance, a beacon in her relentless routine of classes and shifts. Her mother's latest hospital bill, $1,800 for a new round of tests, sat heavy in her mind alongside the looming deadline for her journalism project on factory pollution. She'd spent the morning digging through public records, uncovering a trail of permits linked to a Carter Hotel Group subsidiary, a discovery that both intrigued and unsettled her. The idea of confronting James Carter about it made her stomach twist, but his persistent kindness had begun to chip away at her defenses. Inside the restaurant, the warmth of garlic and fresh bread enveloped her. Tying her apron in the break room, Lena Harris shot Maya a knowing look. "He's here again," Lena said, her voice teasing, but laced with caution, corner table scribbling in that fancy notebook. Lena's life as a single mother balancing her son's needs with nursing school made her wary of men like James, whose wealth seemed a world apart. "Don't let him distract you, Maya. You've got enough on your plate." Maya nodded, slipping into her uniform. She caught her reflection in the break room mirror, smoothing her curls and wiping a smudge of ink from her cheek, a remnant of her research notes. The Friday night crowd buzzed on the dining floor, their chatter mingling with the clinking of wine glasses. James sat at his usual spot, his blonde hair catching the soft light, his navy blazer slightly rumpled, as if he'd rushed from a meeting. He looked up as Maya approached, his blue eyes brightening. "Evening, Maya," he said, closing his notebook and surviving the grind. "Barely," she replied, a half smile breaking through her fatigue. "You're here a lot lately. Don't you have hotels to run?" Her tone was playful, but her curiosity was real. The Carter Hotel Group, a global empire of luxury resorts, was a titan in Chicago's business scene, and James's role as its heir fascinated her. He chuckled, leaning back. "Meetings and memos get old. I'd rather hear about your article. Any breakthroughs?" His interest felt genuine, and Maya hesitated, her fingers tightening around her notepad. She wanted to ask about the Carter subsidiary's questionable permits, but was held back, unsure how to bridge their worlds. "Still digging," she said cautiously. "Found some shady permits tied to a big company. Might be a story." She watched his reaction, but his nod was encouraging, not defensive. "Sounds like you're onto something," he said. "If you need an inside perspective, I've seen how corporations skirt regulations. Off the record, of course." His offer surprised her, hinting at his willingness to critique his world. She took his order, sparkling water and lasagna, her thoughts racing. As she moved to other tables, a loud customer snapped her attention. "Waitress, this wine's off." A man barked, his tone sharp. Maya apologized, replacing the glass, but his muttered complaint about service these days stung. She brushed it off, focusing on her tasks, but James's watchful gaze from the corner steadied her. During a lull, James caught her near the kitchen. "You mentioned stress last time," he said, his voice low. "Anything I can do?" His concern disarmed her, and she found herself opening up. "Just family stuff," she said, glancing at the floor. "My mom's sick and the bills keep coming. I'm trying to keep up with schoolwork, everything." Her honesty surprised her, but his attentive silence invited it. "That's a lot," he said softly. "You're stronger than most people I know." He paused, then added, "There's a cafe downtown. The Hideout. Quiet. Good coffee. Want to grab a cup after your shift? No pressure to talk." Maya's heart skipped. She wanted to say yes, but Lena's warnings echoed. Still, his sincerity was hard to resist. Maybe, she said, a cautious smile forming. I'll let you know. The shift dragged on, Maya's feet aching as she balanced trays and dodged Mr. Russo's stern glances. Near closing, Lena pulled her aside in the break room. She said, some guy was asking about you yesterday. Her brow furrowed. Suit, fancy watch, didn't leave a name. Wanted to know your schedule. Gave me a bad vibe. Maya's stomach dropped. What did he look like? She asked, her voice tight. Older, slick hair, like he walked out of a boardroom, Lena said. I didn't tell him anything but watch your back. Lena's protectiveness, honed by years of fending for herself, made the warning heavy. Maya nodded, her mind racing. Was it someone from James's world? The Carter Hotel Group's influence reached far. Its Chicago headquarters employed thousands, and its boardroom politics were notorious. She pushed the thought aside, focusing on cleaning tables. As the restaurant emptied, James lingered, leaving another generous tip and a note. The Hideout. 10 p.m. tomorrow. Let me know. James. After closing, Maya and Lena locked up, entering the cool night. Are you going to that cafe? Lena asked, zipping her jacket. I don't know, Maya admitted, clutching James's note. He's different, Lena. But what if it's a mistake? Lena sighed. You deserve something good, Maya. Just don't lose yourself in it. They parted, Maya boarding the L train, the city's lights blurring past. At home, she collapsed onto her bed, her phone buzzing with a text from her mother. Doctor wants another scan. I hate asking, but we're short $500. Maya's chest tightened. She stared at James's note, its promise of connection clashing with the shadow of Lena's warning. Someone was watching her, and the weight of her struggles felt heavier than ever. Yet, as she drifted to sleep, the thought of coffee with James sparked a flicker of hope and a chance to step out of the storm, however briefly. Maya Johnson trudged up the stairs to her cramped Chicago apartment, the October rain soaking her jacket. The weight of her day classes, a tense shift at Bella Vita, and the lingering unease from Lena's warning about a stranger asking questions pressed heavily on her shoulders. Her mother's latest text. Another $700 for meds. I'm so sorry, Maya echoed in her mind each word, a reminder of the bills piling up like storm clouds. Her journalism project exposing a factory's illegal dumping, tied to a Carter Hotel Group subsidiary, was due in a week. Still, her energy was sapped by relentless fatigue and nausea that had plagued her for days. She dropped her backpack, rubbing her temples, and sank onto her worn couch, the city's distant hum filtering through the window. The nausea, sharper than usual, pushed Maya to rummage through her bathroom drawer. Her fingers closed around an old pregnancy test half forgotten from a scare last year. Her missed cycles, chalked up to stress, now loomed with new meaning. Heart pounding, she followed the instructions, and the wait was agonizing. When 2 lines appeared, her breath caught. Pregnant. The word felt foreign, monumental. She slid to the floor, clutching the test, a mix of awe and terror swirling in her chest. Twins, the doctor would later confirm, doubling the stakes. How could she manage this with her mother's bills, tuition, and dreams teetering on the edge? Maya visited a free clinic near Lincoln University the next morning, her mind racing. The doctor, a kind woman with a clipped tone, confirmed the twin pregnancy, explaining the need for extra prenatal care, more vitamins, frequent checkups, and a high-protein diet to support the baby's growth. Twins often come early, she warned, handing Maya a pamphlet on managing fatigue and stress. Maya nodded, her thoughts blurred with the hospital bills and the mysterious stranger Lena mentioned. She confided in Lena later at Bella Vita's break room, her voice trembling. I'm pregnant, Lena. Twins. I don't know how to tell James, or if I should. Lena, tying her apron, froze. Twins. Oh, Maya. Her eyes softened, but her single mother pragmatism kicked in. You've got to tell him. He's been good to you, but his world's complicated. And that guy asking about you, that's no coincidence. Lena's struggles raising her son on a waitress's wages while studying nursing made her words heavy with caution. You're strong, but you can't do this alone. Maya's journalistic instincts flared. She spent her lunch break digging online, cross-referencing the Carter Hotel Group's board members with Lena's description of the stranger. A name surfaced: Richard Carter, James's uncle, a second-in-line heir, with a reputation for ruthless ambition. The discovery chilled her. Was he watching her because of James? She pocketed her phone, resolving to keep her guard up. That evening, James was at his corner table, his notebook open, his smile warm as Maya approached. You look tired, he said, concern lacing his voice. Everything okay? She hesitated, the pregnancy test's weight a secret in her mind. Just school and work, she said, forcing a smile. Your lasagna's coming up. His gaze lingered, as if sensing her unease, but he didn't push. Instead, he shared a story about a hotel deal gone sour, hinting at his Uncle Richard's cutthroat tactics. He's been gunning for control since I was named heir, James said, his tone bitter. Family business isn't all glamour. Maya's heart raced. Richard's name, now tied to her suspicions, made her wary. She nodded, keeping her findings to herself, and hurried to the kitchen. The shift blurred by her nausea, flaring under the restaurant's heat. As closing neared, a man in a crisp suit appeared at the employee entrance, his slick hair matching Lena's description. Maya Johnson. He asked, his voice smooth but cold. She froze, clutching a tray. I represent the Carter family. This is for your benefit. He slid a thick envelope across the counter, stuffed with cash. Leave James alone. It's better for everyone. Her pulse thundered. I'm not for sale, she snapped, pushing the envelope back. Her voice shook, but her resolve held. The man's eyes narrowed, but he left without a word, disappearing into the night. Maya's hands trembled as she locked the door, Lena rushing to her side. Was that him? Lena asked, her voice urgent. Yeah, Maya whispered, her mind spinning. It's Richard's doing. I found his name online. Her journalistic drive kicked in. She'd start documenting everything, building a case if needed. But the pregnancy complicated things. She couldn't burden James without proof, and feared his family's wealth could crush her. At home, she stared at the clinic's pamphlet, its warnings about twin pregnancies, preterm labor risks, higher nutritional needs, stark against her reality. Her mother's latest bill sat on the table, a reminder of her dwindling options. She clutched her phone, James's latest note, the hideout tomorrow, in her pocket. The spark of their connection felt like a lifeline, but the shadow of Richard's bribe loomed large. As the city's lights flickered outside, Maya whispered, I'll figure this out for them. Her hand rested on her abdomen, a quiet vow to her unborn twins, even as fear and hope battled within her. Maya Johnson adjusted the straps of her black gown, the fabric smooth but unfamiliar against her skin. She'd spent her last paycheck at a small boutique, the $200 price tag, a reckless splurge she justified as a one-time investment. She'd step into James Carter's world tonight, a Carter Hotel Group gala at Chicago's Grand Regency Hotel. Her stomach churned, not just from the twin pregnancy confirmed days ago, but from the weight of entering a space where she'd be judged. Her journalism research had armed her with knowledge. The Carter empire, with its 200 luxury hotels worldwide, was a titan, but whispers of shady deals like the factory pollution she'd uncovered hinted at its darker side. She smoothed her curls, took a deep breath, and stepped out of her apartment, clutching a small purse. James waited outside in a sleek black car, his smile warm as he opened the door. You look incredible, he said, his blue eyes catching the streetlights. Maya managed a nervous nod, her nausea flaring a reminder of the twins and the clinic's advice to rest more. The drive to the gala was quiet, James's hand resting near hers, his fingers tapping as if sensing her unease. "It's just a night," he said. "Stay close and we'll get through it." His words carried a weight hinting at his tension. He'd shared snippets of his past, a year studying in London, rebelling against his Uncle Richard's control, revealing a man caught between duty and desire for freedom. The Grand Regency loomed ahead, its marble facade glowing under chandeliers. Valets in crisp uniforms ushered them onto a red carpet where cameras flashed, and guests in designer gowns glided past. Maya's simple dress felt like a spotlight on her difference. Inside the grand hall dazzled crystal chandeliers, towering floral arrangements, and a string quartet, weaving melodies through the hum of conversation. James guided her through the crowd, his hand steady on her elbow. "Let's meet a few people," he said, his voice low. Maya nodded, her heart racing. The clinic's pamphlet on twin pregnancies' warning of early fatigue was tucked in her mind. The first introductions were polite but strained. A business associate, a silver-haired man in a tuxedo, shook her hand, his smile tight. "You're with James?" he asked, his tone curious but edged. Maya answered confidently, "I'm a journalism student at Lincoln University," her voice steady despite the stares. She'd researched the Carter board, knowing names like Richard Carter and Eleanor James's mother to hold her own. But whispers followed. "She's a waitress," one woman murmured, her lips curling. Another guest, a cousin of James's named Vivian, eyed Maya's dress. "Charming choice," she said, her tone dripping with condescension. "Did you borrow it?" Maya's cheeks burned, but she lifted her chin. "Bought it myself," she replied, her voice sharp. "I work for what I have." Vivian's smile faltered, but the jab lingered. James squeezed Maya's hand, his jaw tight. "Ignore her," he whispered, steering her toward a drinks table. Maya declined a glass of champagne, her hand instinctively resting on her abdomen, a quiet reminder of the twins. The gesture drew a glance from a nearby woman, who whispered to her companion, "Is she pregnant?" Typical opportunist. The words stung, but Maya's journalistic instincts kicked in. She scanned the room, noting faces cataloging who might be behind the stranger Lena had warned her about. James, sensing her tension, leaned in. "You okay?" he asked, his concern genuine. "They're not worth your energy." Before she could respond, Vivian approached again, her smirk sharper. "James, you're slumming it, aren't you? She's after your money. Or don't you see it?" Her voice carried drawing eyes. Maya's pulse thundered, but she spoke before James could. "I'm here because he asked me, not for his wallet. Judge me by my actions, not your assumptions." Her words, honed by years of standing up to subtle slights, silenced Vivian momentarily. James's eyes flashed with admiration, but his voice was firm. "That's enough, Vivian. Show some respect." The crowd parted slightly, whispers rippling. Maya felt exposed, the weight of every stare pressing on her. She excused herself, slipping toward a quieter hallway, her nausea surging under the stress. James followed, his expression torn. "I'm sorry," he said, running a hand through his hair. "I didn't expect them to be this cruel." "It's not your fault," Maya said, her voice trembling but resolute. "But I don't belong here, James. They see me as a threat." She thought of the twins, the bribe from Richard, and her mother's bills, two $500 total now with no end in sight. Her scholarship wouldn't cover next semester, and her freelance pitches had yet to pay off. "You belong with me," James insisted, his hand brushing hers. "I'll handle my family. Just don't shut me out." His plea was earnest, but the hallway's dim light felt suffocating. Maya nodded, her heart torn between his warmth and the hostility of his world. As they returned to the gala, a camera flash caught her eye, then vanished. Someone was watching, and the shadow of Richard's bribe loomed larger. She clutched her purse, her resolve hardening. She'd face this night, but she'd also protect herself and her twins, no matter what came next. Maya Johnson sat on the edge of her sagging couch, the Chicago skyline, a blur of lights through her apartment window. The weight of the gala's stinging remarks, Vivian's sneer, the whispered accusations of opportunism, clung to her like damp October air. Her twin pregnancy, confirmed days ago, churned her emotions. The clinic's warnings about preterm risks and nutritional needs, a constant hum in her mind. Her mother's latest hospital bill, now $2,500, sat unpaid on the kitchen counter, joined by a tuition notice threatening her scholarship if she missed another payment. Her journalism project on factory pollution linked to a Carter Hotel Group subsidiary was overdue, her focus fractured by nausea and sleepless nights. The envelope of cash from Richard Carter James's uncle haunted her thoughts, a bribe to vanish from James's life, tempting in its promise to ease her family's debts. She clutched her phone. James's text, "Let me know you're okay. I'm here," glowing on the screen. His defense at the gala had been fierce, but the hostility of his world felt like a wall she couldn't scale. She wanted to trust him, but fear gnawed at her. Would he see her pregnancy as a trap? Could she drag him into her struggles without ruining his future? Her fingers hovered over the reply button, but she set the phone down, overwhelmed. A knock startled her, and she opened the door to find Lena Harris, her coworker and friend, holding a takeout coffee. "You look like hell," Lena said, stepping inside. "Spill it, Maya. What's eating you?" Maya's voice broke as she confessed. "I'm pregnant, Lena. Twins. And James's family. They offered me money to leave him. I can't keep up with Mom's bills, school, and everything. I'm thinking of leaving Chicago." Lena's eyes widened, her burdens, as a single mother giving her words weight. "Running won't fix this. You need to tell James. He's not like his family. He stood up for you." "I know," Maya said, tears pricking her eyes. "But what if they destroy him because of me? His uncle Richard is ruthless. I found articles he's been pushing for control of the Carter hotels forever." Her journalistic instincts had led her to dig deeper, uncovering Richard's history of sidelining rivals within the family business. Lena nodded, urging her to trust James, but Maya's pride battled her desperation. She couldn't bear being seen as a burden. That afternoon, her phone buzzed with an email from her professor. "Missed classes are impacting your grade. Submit your project or risk failing." Maya's stomach knotted. She'd skipped lectures to pick up extra shifts, hoping to cover her mother's medication costs. The pressure was suffocating. She pulled a suitcase from her closet, her hands moving mechanically as she folded clothes. Leaving felt like the only way to protect James from his family's wrath, and herself from their threats. She scrawled a letter to him, her pen shaking. "James, I care about you, but I'm hurting you by staying. My family's drowning, and I can't let you lose everything. I'm sorry." The words felt final, a blade cutting through her hope. As she packed, her phone rang. Her mother's voice was frail. "The hospital's threatening to cut off my treatment," she said. "I hate asking Maya, but we're out of time." Maya's throat tightened, the bribe's promise flashing in her mind. She could pay the bills, finish her degree elsewhere, and raise her twins alone. But the thought of abandoning James twisted her heart. She ended the call, tears streaming, and resumed packing, her resolve fraying. A sharp knock jolted her. Lena burst in, eyes blazing. "You're not running, Maya. I called James. He's on his way." Maya's heart lurched. "Lena, no, I'm not ready." But Lena stood firm, her loyalty fierce. "You don't get to decide his feelings for him. He deserves to know." Minutes later, James's car screeched to a stop outside. He strode in his blazer, rumpled his face etched with worry. "Maya, what's going on?" he asked, spotting the suitcase. His voice cracked. "You're leaving." Maya froze, the letter clutched in her hand. Lena slipped into the kitchen, giving them space. "I have to," Maya whispered, her voice trembling. "Your family. They'll ruin you if I stay. They offered me money to disappear James. And I'm pregnant. Twins. I can't drag you into this." The truth spilled out raw and heavy. James's eyes widened, his hand reaching for hers. "Pregnant," he repeated, shock giving way to resolve. "Maya, I don't care what they offer. You're not facing this alone." He pulled her close, his embrace steadying her. "I've been fighting my family's control over my whole life. Richard's the worst. He's been scheming to take over since my dad stepped back. I won't let him scare you away." Maya pulled back, tears falling. "But I'm barely holding on to my mom's bills and tuition. I don't want your money, James. I don't want to be that person." Her pride flared, but his gaze held no judgment. "Then let me help in other ways," he said. "We'll figure it out together." His words cracked her defenses, but the shadow of Richard's bribe and her mother's desperate call loomed. As Lena re-entered, offering a silent nod, Maya felt the weight of her choice. She could run, or she could trust James. The suitcase stood by the door, symbolizing her fear, but James's hand in hers sparked a fragile hope. The night stretched her future, teetering on the edge of a decision that could change everything. Maya Johnson stood in her dimly lit Chicago apartment, the weight of her suitcase, and the crumpled letter to James Carter pressing against her resolve. The revelation of her twin pregnancy and Richard Carter's bribe to disappear had shaken her, but James's sudden arrival, spurred by Lena's call, halted her plan to flee. His blue eyes, intense with worry, locked onto hers as he stood in her cramped living room, the city's hum, a faint backdrop through the window. "You're pregnant with twins, and my family tried to pay you off," he said, his voice raw. "Maya, why didn't you tell me sooner?" Her throat tightened, tears threatening to spill. "I was scared, James," she admitted, clutching the letter. "Your family's empire. It's enormous. They think I'm a gold digger. I didn't want you to lose everything because of me." Her nausea, a constant reminder of the twins, flared under the stress, the clinic's advice to manage fatigue echoing in her mind. Hovering by the kitchen, Lena gave a silent nod of support, her struggles as a single mother, making her a steadfast ally. James stepped closer, his hand brushing hers. He said, "I don't care about the empire, if it means losing you," his tone resolute. "My Uncle Richard's been trying to control the Carter Hotel Group for years. He's behind this, isn't he?" Maya nodded, her journalistic research confirming Richard's ambition to seize the company's helm. She'd found records of his shady deals, including a questionable land acquisition tied to the factory pollution she was investigating. "She said they offered me $10,000 to leave," gesturing to the envelope on the table. "Someone came to my door, said it was for the family's sake. I told him no, but I'm drowning, James. Mom's bills are $2,500 now, and my tuition's due. I can't keep up." Her voice wavered, pride clashing with desperation. James's jaw clenched, his anger aimed at his family. "That's Richard's style, bribes and threats. My dad Thomas used to run the show, but stepped back after a health scare. Richard's been pushing me aside ever since." His candor revealed a man trapped by legacy. His rebellion in London, a failed escape from family duty. "I won't let them scare you away, Maya. You and the twins are my priority." Her heart fluttered, but fear lingered. What if they come after us? They've got money, power, everything I don't. She thought of her mother's frail voice, the hospital's latest demand for payment, and the twins' future needs. prenatal vitamins, checkups, a safe home. We'll face them together. James said, his hand squeezing hers. I've got a lawyer looking into separating my finances from the family trust. It'll take time, but I'm done playing their game. His resolve sparked hope, but a buzz from Maya's phone shattered the moment. A text from an unknown number. You can't hide. Leave or it gets worse. Her hands trembled, showing it to James. That's it, he said, his voice hardening. We're going to confront them. My family's estate is in Lake Forest tomorrow. I want answers. Maya hesitated, the clinic's warning about stress and preterm risks flashing in her mind, but her resolve matched his. She'd documented Richard's moves. She wouldn't cower now. The next morning they drove to the Carter estate, the city fading into manicured suburbs. Maya's stomach churned, partly from morning sickness, partly from dread. The mansion loomed, its stone facade imposing under gray skies. Inside, the foyer's marble floors echoed their steps. James's parents, Thomas and Eleanor, waited with a handful of relatives, their expressions a mix of frost and curiosity. Thomas, his face lined from years of steering the Carter Hotel Group's 200 properties, eyed Maya warily. Eleanor, poised in a tailored dress, stood rigid, her lips thin. James, what is this? Thomas demanded, his voice sharp. Bringing her here, James stood tall, his hand in Maya's. This is Maya, my partner. She's pregnant with our twins, and someone likely Richard threatened her to leave me. It stops now. His words hung heavy, the room silent except for a cousin's stifled gasp. Eleanor's gaze flicked to Maya's abdomen, her expression unreadable. You're serious about this? She asked James, ignoring Maya. You'd risk the company for her. I'm not risking anything, James shot back. I'm choosing my family, Maya, and our children. If Richard's behind the threats, I want him out. Maya's heart pounded, but she stepped forward, her voice steady. She said I didn't ask for this meeting. Eleanor's eyes. I love James, and I'm not here for your money. But I won't let anyone threaten my babies. Her journalistic fire burned her notes on Richard's schemes, a quiet strength. Thomas shifted his stern facade, softening slightly. Richard's always been ambitious, he admitted, his voice low. I didn't know he'd go this far. Eleanor remained silent, her gaze piercing, but a flicker of doubt crossed her face. Ed and James squeezed May as they left the mansion, and the confrontation was unresolved. We're not done, he said. I'll protect you no matter what. Maya nodded, her fear tempered by his commitment. Lena's text buzzed through. You okay? Stay strong. Maya rested her hand on her abdomen in the car, the twins a quiet promise. The Carter empire loomed large, but with James by her side, she felt a spark of courage to face whatever came next. Maya Johnson leaned against the car window, the Chicago skyline fading into the distance as James Carter drove north toward Wisconsin. The confrontation at his family's Lake Forest estate lingered in her mind, his fierce defense of her and their unborn twins, his father Thomas's hesitant admission about Richard's schemes, and his mother Eleanor's cold silence. Her twin pregnancy, now in its early second trimester, brought waves of nausea and fatigue, the clinic's advice to prioritize rest clashing with the stress of her mother's $2,500 medical bills and her looming tuition deadline. The threatening text, "You can't hide. Leave or it gets worse," still chilled her, a reminder of Richard's reach within the Carter Hotel Group's empire. Yet James's hand, steady on hers, offered a flicker of hope. We need somewhere safe, James said, his voice firm as they crossed into rural Wisconsin. There's a cottage my family owns off the grid. No one will find you there. His blue eyes flicked to her concern etched in his features. You can rest, Maya, and we'll figure out our next move. His plan to untangle his finances from the family trust, shared during their drive, showed his resolve to break free from Richard's control. Maya nodded, her hand resting on her abdomen, where the twins stirred subtly, a reminder of the stakes. The gravel driveway crunched under the tires as they reached the cottage, a weathered two-story house nestled among wildflowers and tall grass. Its faded shutters and wraparound porch exuded quiet charm, starkly contrasting with Chicago's chaos. Maya stepped out, the crisp air easing her nausea. Inside, dust motes danced in sunlight, and the wooden floors creaked underfoot. A modest sofa, a kitchen table, and a few old lamps made it functional if sparse. "It's not a mansion," James said, checking the taps, "but it's ours for now. I'll have groceries delivered, whatever you need." Maya sank onto the sofa, her body heavy from fatigue. "I can't just hide, James," she said, her voice soft but firm. "I've got my mom's bills, and my project is due. I've been pitching freelance articles to local papers, might cover some costs." Her journalistic drive, honed by years of scrappy research, refused to let her rely solely on him. She'd already secured a small gig writing for a community outlet, a step toward easing her financial strain. "I respect that," James said, sitting beside her. "But let me help with the bills. My accounts aren't tied to the family yet. I can cover your mom's meds." His offer was earnest, but Maya's pride bristled. "I'm not a charity case," she said, meeting his gaze. "I'll take help, but I'm contributing too." He nodded, a small smile, breaking through, admiring her resolve. They spent the afternoon settling in, unpacking groceries. James had brought high-protein foods like eggs and lentils per the clinic's advice for twin pregnancies. Maya shared her prenatal plan, weekly checkups, extra iron supplements, and rest to avoid preterm labor risks. James listened intently, jotting notes, his commitment clear. "I'll be here as much as I can," he promised. "I'm meeting my lawyer tomorrow to push the trust separation. Richard won't touch us here." As dusk fell, Maya's phone buzzed, shattering the calm. Another text from an unknown number. "We know where you are. Walk away or your family pays." Her heart raced, hands trembling as she showed James. "This has to be Richard," she said, her voice shaking. "I've been tracking his deals, land grabs, shady permits. He's desperate to control the company." James's jaw tightened. "I'll trace this number. My lawyer's got contacts, private investigators, tech guys. We'll find proof." His anger was tempered by focus, his years navigating boardroom politics, sharpening his resolve. Maya nodded, her journalistic instincts kicking in. She'd been logging Richard's moves, saving screenshots of his texts and the bribe envelope. "I'll keep digging too," she said. "If he's breaking laws, I'll expose him." Lena's text arrived later. "I am checking in to see if you are safe. Call if you need me." Her loyalty rooted in her struggles, raising her son, grounded Maya. "Lena's been my rock," she told James, sharing how Lena juggled night classes and daycare costs. "She gets what it's like to fight for every dollar." James nodded, his expression softening. "My dad fought too, built the Carter hotels from a single property, but it cost him his health. I don't want that life." His vulnerability, rare for the heir to a 200-hotel empire, deepened their bond. They curled up on the sofa, the cottage's quiet wrapping around them. Maya's hand rested on her abdomen, and the twins' faint movements were a promise of life. The threatening text lingered, but the cottage felt like a refuge, however fragile. As stars emerged outside, Maya whispered, "Thank you, James, for this." He kissed her forehead, his resolve a shield against the storm. They had a haven for now, but the battle with Richard was far from over. Maya Johnson stood in the overgrown garden behind the Wisconsin cottage, the late October sun casting long shadows across the wildflowers. The quiet of the countryside, a stark contrast to Chicago's relentless pulse, should have soothed her, but the latest threatening text, "We know where you are. Walk away, or your family pays kept her on edge. Her twin pregnancy, now nearing the second trimester's end, brought frequent fatigue, her body demanding rest, as the clinic's pamphlet warned of preterm labor risks. She clutched a trowel, weeding to steady her nerves, her other hand resting on her abdomen, where the twins stirred faintly. Her mother's $2,500 medical bills and her unpaid tuition loomed, though her recent freelance article for a local paper had earned $200, a small dent in her debts. James Carter's promise to cover her mother's medication costs eased some pressure, but Maya's pride pushed her to contribute her journalistic drive, fueling her resolve. Inside, James paced the cottage's creaky floor, his phone pressed to his ear as he coordinated with his lawyer to trace the threatening texts. His blue eyes, usually calm, burned with determination. "We're close to pinning this on Richard," he told Maya, setting his phone down. "My uncle's been sabotaging deals to weaken my position in the Carter Hotel Group. He wants the CEO seat." Maya's research had confirmed Richard's history of ruthless maneuvers, from undercutting rivals to securing shady land deals like the one tied to her pollution investigation. She'd saved every text and the bribe envelope, building a case to expose him. A crunch of gravel snapped her attention to the driveway. A sleek black sedan pulled up, and Maya's heart raced. She slipped inside, grabbing her phone to record, her journalistic instincts kicking in. James peered through the window, his jaw tightening. "It's Richard," he muttered, stepping onto the porch. Maya followed, her pulse pounding, but her resolve firm. She wouldn't hide, not now. Richard Carter, his tailored coat pristine, strode toward them, his face twisted with anger. "You're throwing away the family legacy, James," he barked, his voice carrying over the quiet yard. "For her, she's dragging you down. You're too blind to see it." He waved a thick envelope, its edges crisp. "I tried to make this easy, pay her off, let her go. But you're forcing my hand." Maya's fingers tightened on her phone, recording silently. "I told your man I'm not for sale," she said, her voice steady despite her nausea. "You're the one threatening my family." "Why?" Her boldness surprised even her, honed by years of standing up to dismissals. Richard sneered. "You're a distraction. James is set to inherit the Carter empire, 200 hotels, billions in revenue. I've waited years to lead and won't let a waitress ruin it." His words confirmed Maya's suspicions. Richard's threats aimed to push James out, securing his control. "I sent those texts," he admitted, his arrogance unchecked. "If you didn't take the money, I'd have buried you in lawsuits." James stepped forward, his fists clenched. "You're admitting to harassment," he said, his voice low but fierce. "You've been rigging deals, haven't you? Maya's article will expose the land grab in Chicago and the pollution cover-up." Her research shared with James last night had linked Richard to illegal permits, strengthening their case. Richard's eyes narrowed. "You think you can stop me? The board listens to me, not you." He tossed the envelope at James, who let it fall, papers spilling. Maya's phone captured every word, her heart racing with the thrill of evidence. "You're done, Richard," she said, stepping closer. "I've got your texts, the bribe, and now this. The truth will come out." Before Richard could retort, another car roared up the driveway. James's lawyer, a wiry man named Paul, stepped out holding a folder. "We've got enough," Paul said, his voice calm but firm. "Bank records, emails, and your signature on fraudulent contracts. The police are on their way." Richard's face paled, his arrogance crumbling as he realized he'd been cornered. "You set me up," he spat, lunging for the folder. James blocked him, his stance unwavering. "You set yourself up," James said. "Threatening Maya, trying to steal the company. It ends now." Maya's recording stopped, and her evidence was secure. She felt a surge of triumph, her journalistic skills turning the tide. Richard backed toward his car, muttering curses, but headlights flashed on the horizon, police closing in. Maya's nausea eased slightly, replaced by a rush of adrenaline. She glanced at James, his hand finding hers, a silent vow of unity. Lena's text buzzed through. "You okay? Tell me you nailed him." Maya smiled faintly. Her friend's loyalty, a lifeline. Once a fragile refuge, the cottage now felt like a fortress of their shared resolve. As Richard's car idled, trapped by the arriving police, Maya knew this wasn't the end of their fight, but exposing Richard was a victory she'd helped win. The Wisconsin cottage stood quiet under a late October sky, the wildflowers swaying as police lights flashed in the gravel driveway. Maya Johnson leaned against James Carter, her hand on her abdomen, where the twins stirred her second trimester fatigue, tempered by the adrenaline of Richard Carter's unmasking. Her phone, still warm from recording Richard's confession, held evidence of his threats and schemes to seize control of the Carter Hotel Group. The $10,000 bribe envelope, now in James's lawyer's hands, lay scattered on the ground, symbolizing Richard's failed power grab. Maya's freelance article earning $200, and James's offer to cover her mother's $500 medical bills had eased her financial strain. However, her scholarship still hung in the balance, and the chaos delayed her journalism project. Police officers escorted Richard to a cruiser. His tailored coat rumpled his face, a mask of defiance. "You'll regret this, James," he spat, but his voice lacked conviction as the car door slammed. Maya's heart steadied her journalistic triumph, capturing Richard's admission, fueling her resolve. James's arm around her felt like an anchor, his blue eyes fierce with relief. "He's done," he said, his voice low. "We've got him." Before they could process the victory, a second car pulled up, its sleek frame unmistakable. Eleanor Carter, James's mother, stepped out, her poised figure stark against the rural backdrop. Paul, the lawyer, followed, clutching a folder thick with documents. Maya tensed, her nausea flaring, the clinic's warning about stress echoing in her mind. Eleanor's cold demeanor at the Lake Forest estate had stung, but now her expression was unreadable. "I suspected Richard was plotting," Eleanor said, her voice clipped, addressing James. "I didn't know he'd stoop to threats." Her gaze flicked to Maya, lingering on her abdomen. "I owe you an apology, Maya. I misjudged you." Maya's breath caught her journalistic instincts urging caution. "Why the change of heart?" she asked, her voice steady. "You didn't want me here." Her hand rested protectively on her belly, the twins' faint movements grounding her. Eleanor sighed, a rare crack in her composure. "I've navigated this family's world for decades, protecting our name. I saw you as a risk, but Richard's actions threatening you, forging documents, crossed a line." She gestured to Paul, who opened the folder. Bank records, emails, and fake contracts. Richard funneled funds to weaken James's position. "We've alerted the board and the authorities." Her admission revealed her struggle marrying into the Carter empire. She'd faced scrutiny, her ambition shaped by years of guarding its legacy. James stepped forward, his hand still in Maya's. "You're supporting us now?" he asked, skepticism lacing his tone. "You wanted Maya gone. I wanted stability." Eleanor corrected, her lips tight. "But I see your commitment. I'll speak to the board and calm the relatives. No more threats." Her words weren't warm, but they carried a tentative sincerity. Maya exchanged a glance with James, her heart torn between hope and wariness. Maya said, "I want a life with James and our twins," her voice firm. "I've never been after your money. I'm fighting for my family too." Her recent freelance pitch to a Chicago outlet, accepted for $300, and a scholarship extension she'd secured through a professor's appeal, showed her determination to stand independently. Eleanor nodded, a subtle shift in her posture. "I respect that. I'll ensure the family backs off. But the board will need time. Richard's allies won't go quietly." She turned to James. "You're still heir, but you'll need to navigate this carefully. Her tone softened. "If you'll allow, I'd like to meet those twins someday." James squeezed Maya's hand, a cautious smile breaking through. "That's a start," he said. "Thank you." As Eleanor and Paul returned to their car, the police cruisers fading into the distance, Maya felt a weight lift. The cottage's quiet enveloped them, its creaky floors and dusty lamps, a haven from the storm. Lena's text buzzed through. "Heard the news. You okay? Proud of you." Lena's loyalty rooted in her fight as a single mother warmed Maya. Inside, Maya sank onto the sofa, her fatigue deepening. "We're not out of the woods," she said, her hand on her abdomen. "But we got him." Her prenatal plan, extra checkups, iron supplements felt more manageable with Richard's threat neutralized. James sat beside her, his arm draping over her shoulders. "We'll keep fighting," he said. "I'm meeting Paul tomorrow to finalize my trust separation. The Carter hotels won't control us." His rebellion, sparked years ago in London, now fueled his resolve to build a life with Maya. She leaned into him, and the twins' faint kicks reminded them of their shared future. The victory over Richard was real, but Eleanor's cautious support and the board's lingering influence loomed. The cottage held their fragile peace, a sanctuary where Maya's courage and James's commitment could grow. Maya Johnson woke to a sharp cramp in the Wisconsin cottage, the early February dawn, casting a soft glow through the curtains. Her twin pregnancy, now at 34 weeks, had grown increasingly demanding, with preterm labor risks looming as the clinic had warned. The past months had been a whirlwind. Richard Carter's arrest for fraud and harassment had neutralized his threats, and Eleanor Carter's cautious apology had eased tensions with James's family. Maya's freelance journalism, including a $500 article on local environmental issues and a scholarship extension secured through her professor's advocacy, had alleviated her financial strain. However, her mother's $2,500 medical bills remained a concern. James's commitment to cover those costs was a lifeline, but Maya's pride kept pushing forward with her earnings. The cramp intensified, pulling Maya upright. "James," she called, her voice tight. Dozing on a nearby chair, James Carter snapped awake, his blue eyes wide with alarm. "What's wrong?" he asked, rushing to her side. Another contraction hit sharper than the Braxton Hicks she'd felt for weeks. "It's time," she gasped, clutching his hand. Panic and excitement surged as James grabbed their packed hospital bag, his calm exterior masking his fear. The drive to a nearby hospital was a blur, the rural roads quiet under a gray sky. Maya focused on breathing the clinic's prenatal advice. Stay calm, monitor contractions, guiding her through the pain. At the hospital, nurses whisked Maya into labor and delivery, her contractions growing closer. James stayed by her side, his hand steady in hers, his voice a soft anchor. "You've got this, Maya," he said, brushing a curl from her forehead. Hours later, two tiny cries pierced the air. Twin girls born slightly premature, but healthy, their small lungs strong. Maya's tears flowed as she held them, their delicate faces a miracle. His eyes glistening. James cradled the second twin, his lips brushing her tiny forehead. "They're perfect," he whispered, his voice thick. They named them Lily and Ava, a promise of new beginnings. The hospital room buzzed with quiet joy, but Maya's exhaustion was profound. The nurses emphasized rest and nutrition for recovery, especially with twins who needed frequent feedings. Lena Harris arrived, her face lighting up as she peeked at the babies. "They're beautiful, Maya," she said, her own experience as a single mother softening her voice. "You'll be a fantastic mom, but don't hesitate to ask for help." Lena's support rooted in her struggles. Raising her son warmed Maya's heart. Days later, James drove Maya and the twins to a Chicago mansion he'd purchased with his funds free from the Carter Hotel Group's control. With its expansive windows and hardwood floors, the sprawling home felt like a fresh start, far from the cramped cottage or Maya's old apartment. Eleanor visited unannounced, her tailored coat out of place in the nursery's soft light. She held Lily, her usually stern face softening. "I was wrong about you, Maya," she said quietly. "I let fear of scandal cloud my judgment. These girls, they're our family now." Her words, shaped by her battles navigating the Carter Empire's high society, carried a tentative warmth. Maya nodded, her fatigue tempered by gratitude. "Thank you, Eleanor. I want them to grow up safe and loved." Her voice held a quiet strength, her journalistic resolve now channeled into building a future for her daughters. James, standing nearby, squeezed her shoulder, his pride evident. Eleanor's visit marked a shift, her guarded acceptance a bridge across the family's divide. Maya's mother, recovering with James's financial help, called daily, her voice lighter with hope. "I'm so proud, Maya," she said, promising to visit soon. Maya's scholarship extension and freelance earnings, now totaling $800 from recent articles, gave her the confidence to resume her studies, part-time balancing motherhood with her dreams. Lena, juggling her nursing classes, offered tips on managing sleepless nights, her friendship a steady anchor. Maya rocked Ava in the nursery as evening fell, and James cradled Lily nearby. The mansion's quiet hum replaced the chaos of their past battles. "We did it," Maya whispered, her eyes meeting James's. "We're a family." His smile, warm and certain, mirrored her hope. The Carter Empire's shadow lingered, but with Richard gone and Eleanor's support, they faced the future together. The twins' soft breaths filled the room, a testament to their resilience, as Maya and James embraced their new life, built on love and hard-won trust. The late April sun bathed the backyard of Maya Johnson and James Carter's Chicago mansion, its manicured lawn dotted with wildflowers that echoed the Wisconsin cottage where they'd found refuge. The air hummed with soft music and laughter, as close friends and a few supportive Carter relatives gathered for a simple wedding ceremony. Maya stood in a flowing ivory dress, her curls adorned with tiny blooms, cradling 4-month-old Lily, while James held Ava, their twin daughters, cooing softly. The past year's trials, Richard's threats, the Carter Hotel Group's power struggles, and Maya's battle to balance motherhood with her dreams had forged an unbreakable bond. Her mother's medical bills, now managed with James's help, and Maya's $1 and $200 in freelance earnings no longer loomed like a storm. A full scholarship secured through her professor's advocacy allowed Maya to resume her journalism studies part-time, and her article on factory pollution earned local acclaim. The ceremony, set under a wooden arbor, was intimate, far from the ostentatious affairs the Carter Empire might have demanded. Maya's steadfast friend, Lena Harris, stood as maid of honor, her eyes glistening as she adjusted her dress, her journey as a single mother mirroring Maya's resilience. Eleanor Carter, James's mother, sat in the front row, her once stern demeanor softened by the twins' presence. Delivered days ago, her letter promised to mentor Lily and Ava, a quiet vow to bridge the family's past divides. Thomas, James's father, nodded approvingly, his health scare having shifted his focus from the Carter Empire's 200 hotels to his son's happiness. Maya and James exchanged vows as the officiants spoke, their voices steady but thick with emotion. "James said you showed me what it means to fight for love," slipping a ring onto Maya's finger. "I promise to stand by you and our girls always." Maya's heart swelled, her gaze meeting his. "You saw me when I felt invisible," she replied. "Together we've built more than I ever dreamed." The twins' gentle gurgles punctuated the moment, drawing soft laughter from the guests. After the vows, the reception unfolded with clinking glasses and warm toasts. Maya, holding Lily, stepped forward, her voice clear. "Our story started with a tray at Bella Vita," she said, smiling at James. "From there, we faced threats, doubts, and a world that tried to pull us apart. But we built an empire of our own love, family, and hope." If this story moved you, share your thoughts below. Tell us your stories of love and resilience. Her nod to the crowd felt like an invitation, her journalistic instinct weaving a connection. James raised his glass, his blue eyes shining at Maya, who taught me what matters beyond boardrooms, and to Lily and Ava, our legacy of perseverance. If you're inspired, give us a like. It means the world. His grin was playful, but his words carried the weight of their journey. The guests cheered, glasses clinking, as Lena whispered to Maya, "You two are unstoppable. And those girls, they're lucky to have you." Her support, rooted in her struggles, grounded the moment. Maya's role in the Carter Hotel Group's community outreach had begun her journalism skills, shaping initiatives to support local businesses, a nod to her dream of exposing corporate wrongs. The empire's global reach, billions in revenue, now felt less like a threat and more like a platform for change. Eleanor approached, holding a bouquet, her smile tentative but genuine. "You're part of us now," she said, her voice soft. "I'm learning from you." Her past navigating the Carter world's scrutiny had built a quiet respect for Maya's tenacity. As the music swelled, Maya and James danced, the twins in their arms, the backyard alive with joy. "We made it," Maya whispered, her fatigue from twin feedings every 3 hours, as the clinic advised, fading in the moment. James kissed her forehead, his commitment unwavering. "And we're just starting," he replied. The guests, moved by their story, clapped, and Lena called out, "Subscribe to their journey, folks. These two are worth following." Her laugh echoed a nod to their shared battles. The evening faded into starlight, the twins' soft breaths a melody of hope. Maya's mother, recovering and present, raised a toast, her voice strong. "To love that conquers," she said, tears in her eyes. Maya felt a warmth settle in her chest. The trials, Richard's schemes, financial fears, and family rifts are now lessons in resilience. Their legacy, built on love and defiance, promised a future where Lily and Ava would thrive, free from the shadows of the past.